This is so fascinating.
Yeah. You know, we're winning all over the place. In Los Angeles, about last month, they had a 5-day training for their police officers that basically taught them to leave the sovereigns alone.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Because did you know that we're not supposed to have a driver's license or have to update our license plates? Do you know why?
No, I don't.
The only law which requires a driver's license and a license plate is in the Uniform Commercial Code for vehicles that are making money and using our roads. People that are making a living out of driving a vehicle on our roads.
Right.
But the Supreme Court has held that a living man or woman has an absolute right to travel in their automobile anywhere they go and not be molested.
Okay, I have a question or a comment. About 2 to 3 weeks ago, there was a militia group traveling, I think it was upstate New York. They were in the news. It was a group of men, and they got pulled over. And a couple of the men were stating just that. And it sounded crazy talk, because of course it was just a quick clip. And I think Fox carried it, none of the others did. But they were stating that same premise about the driver's license, and they're free to travel wherever. And
this is true as long as they're not municipal citizens. If they are registered to vote, if they have not undone what they did with their signature during their adult life by agreeing to stuff, they're in mortal danger of traveling around doing that.
Okay, so that's really interesting.
Only living people, living men and women on the land, are allowed to assemble and to have a militia without being considered enemies of these foreign governments.
That seems to me to be very, very tricky, because I think that the left is going to use that and word salad it to really confuse people and make assemblies.
I can't control them.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, New California Assembly is a corporation. All those people are municipal citizens. They're all in danger. And there are a lot of other assemblies that are like that.
When you say they're in danger?
Yeah, because they didn't opt out of being a corporate fiction owned by Britain.
They didn't prove they were a live human being.
Municipal citizen under the 14th Amendment, they're an enemy of the government out there assembling, which is against all the according to what they've said in the Constitution, the 14th Amendment, they're enemies of the United States of America Incorporated.
Interesting, because when you refer to the New California Assembly, is that the group that recently was looking to secede?
I think so. I believe they're trying to form an assembly and not include Los Angeles and San Francisco.
Well,
but you know, truthfully, I don't know much about anything other than my own assembly. I mean, if you want to ask me those kind of questions, I don't feel like I can give accurate answers.
Okay.
Because I'm not a member of those assemblies, but I do know that one's incorporated, and I do know they don't tell anyone the truth about 3 constitutions or the birth certificate situation or the legal problem that people have. I know they don't talk about it, because I've dealt with New California people that are coming into our assembly that have never heard this information before.
Well, and the premise for your arguments and doing to break away from the corporation,
right,
and Britain / Queen / Pope / Vatican. It sounds like the research that you have done has a strong basis to it to do that process.
Treaty law.
But these other people are not doing the complete cycle of what they need to do.
And I have to think that the bar attorneys, which created the corporation that created New California, know exactly what they're doing.
Interesting.
I think it's another trick to trick the people into something really dangerous.
Wow, what a bummer, all those people.
Yeah, what about the assembly I'm in is totally peaceful. We do not do anything violent. Our whole thing is about keeping the peace. And when we go to the government officials and take on a corrupt official to task, we don't fight them or anything like that. We go to court and use the means that there are, and we've educated ourselves so that we can take their houses or whatever is needed to get them out of office.
Because they're just corrupt all over the place. So,
Horribly corrupt. It's
yeah.
terrible.
Well, there's so many tentacles of corruption,
I know. It's everywhere.
from,
Right.
I mean, just the things that I've heard about with government high up people with sexual,
Yes, I know. I've
Exploitation
heard
of
all those
children.
things, but what I've come to understand and what I explained to you in the beginning
what
is
you
if
focus
I
on.
focus on what I can do, then I actually feel positive about life,
Yeah.
and I'm always working for the good. I really am not giving any mind or any
Energy to the
to
bad.
something else.
Yes.
Because I realize I can't do anything about those people doing terrible things to children and drinking blood or whatever they're doing. All the horrible things they're doing. I can't. There's nothing I can do about that.
Well, what we can do is we can take our little astute selves and check out the human trafficking in our area. So the assembly, what is your assembly
What I
called?
can do is assemble the people, and then
Right.
I can create groups and committees of people that have different interests, and we can all go out. And then if one of us has a problem with the de facto government, we can all support that person.
that's true.
And we can end up with people that have studied common law way more than I have, and they can be our counselors at law. When you're in common law, like I've described, nobody can stand there on your behalf, because that means you aren't capable of taking care of yourself.
Aren't they tricky?
You have to go into court yourself. But you can have a counselor that teaches you and even comes in as a partner and stands with you.
And steps in when as
Now, do
needed.
you know why you need an attorney normally in the maritime courts? Because you're dead. A dead person doesn't have a voice. But the attorney is licensed to cross the bar, which means he walks through that gate over the sandbar, and he survives the sandbar. But if you cross the bar, you are shipwrecked and you died at sea. And you
Yes.
can't speak in court.
It's so interesting. Well, and the difference between counselor versus attorney. Or
Attorney
esquire.
is to
How does
alter-
esquire come into that?
I don't know. I only know a turn. It has to do with
Twist.
turning you into a dead person. That's their
And
job.
lawyers are supposed to be keeper of the
They
laws.
turn you.
Yeah, they turn and twist. Yeah.
They turn and twist, yeah. And they get paid from your trust account, even if they're supposedly your attorney.
How can we stop them from pulling from our trust account?
Okay, well, that's a good question. Now, this hasn't happened yet, and if something hasn't happened, I can only tell you what I've been told, because this is not my part of the assemblies. So the assembly structure is that the biggest